Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make my little egg and chicks. And the idea for these is you make a little egg with a little button loop on the front, and then if we open up the inside, yay, there's a little chick. These are perfect for Easter, but also if you didn't want to make the chick, you could just make the little egg casing. You could hide some like little chocolate eggs inside. So what we're going to need for this project, okay. Well, we're going to be using a sort of a yellowy orangey coloured yarn. I'm going to go for actually a more orangey colour this time. And this is a DK light worsted weight yarn. I'm also going to be needing some darker orange for the little beak that we're going to sew on. And again, that's a DK light worsted weight yarn. We also need a tiny little bit of black yarn for all the eyes. And again, that's a DK light worsted weight yarn. We don't need that much. We're also going to be needing a colour for the egg. And I'm going to be using my Rico Design Essential 100% cotton yarn, which has been featuring quite a lot in my videos. But it's great because it creates that sort of nice sheeny shine on the egg. I'm also going to be needing a button. So I've chosen a little flower button. That's about 1 centimetre in size. And we're going to need a little bit of toy stuffing for the chick. You can also use yarn scraps as well if you want to. And we're going to be using a 2.5mm crochet hook, but you could also use a 2.75 crochet hook, so something around that size. And a pair of scissors and a yarn needle, but we're also going to be needing a sewing needle as well, because you'll need a needle to be able to sew the button onto the egg. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our yellow yarn, our yellowy orangey yarn, the chick colour yarn, which is a DK light worsted weight yarn, and our 2.5mm crochet hook. And we're going to work six single crochet into a magic circle. Now, if you don't like using the magic circle, you can chain 4, slip stitch into your chain 1 to form a loop, and then work your 6 single crochet into that loop. But we're going to use the magic circle, and I have done a video in more detail on my magic circle, which I'll put a link in the description to that video if you want to learn how to do the magic circle and follow this video exactly. And it also tells you why I do my little dummy stitch. So we're going to work 6 single crochet. So 1 and 6. And just pull our tail end to bring in our circle. And then we just slip stitch into our first single crochet. And because we did that dummy stitch, our first stitch is really easy to find. Okay, so there we've got 6 single crochet. Then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and what you need to do really is bring up the yarn a little bit, because you want to keep it nice and loose. So just bring up the yarn a little bit before we do our chain 1. It helps us find the stitch at the end. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the same stitch as we've just slip stitched into to join the round, which is underneath our chain 1. So going back into that same stitch that you just slip stitched into, we're going to work a single crochet. Like so. Then we're going to do 2 single crochet in the rest of the stitches. So we're going to the next stitch and do 2 single crochet in the same stitch. So that's 1. And we do another one in the same stitch. And we just repeat that round, doing 2 single crochet in each stitch around until we've got 12 stitches. So that's 1, and then another one in the same stitch. And then the last 2. The last stitch, 11 and 12. So it's quite important that you count. So we're counting our chain 1 as a stitch. And then if you count your stitches as you go round, you make sure you've got the right amount, because it always looks like we've got a stitch at the end, but that's actually a a trickery stitch, it's a fake stitch. So we want to go straight into our chain 1 now, and hopefully we kept it loose enough to be able to get our hook into that chain 1, and then we're just going to work a slip stitch in that chain 1 to join the round. So by the end of round 2 you should have 12 stitches. Okay, so moving on to round 3, it's actually round 3 and 4 we're going to do now, which is just chain 1, so bring up your yarn a little bit to keep it loose. Chain 1, and then we're just going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch along. Go into the next stitch, just 1 single crochet by itself. I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, so we're keeping a stitch count of 12. So just 1 single crochet in every stitch. By itself. And we're going to do that for 2 rounds. This is rounds 3 and 4. So for 2 rounds you want to chain 1, do 1 single crochet in the next stitch and 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then slip stitch at the end to join in that chain 1 to join the round. It's just coming up to the last stitch. So I always use my increases from previous rounds as a sort of way of helping me sort of realise where I need to end my stitches if I've lost count. If I can't bother to go back to the beginning and count. I mean, it's okay here, we're only counting 12, but you've got your last increase there from that round. So you can see the seam there, you find your increase, and then we did from round 3 we ended on a single crochet, so that's joined up there. So then we know that this stitch here needs to be our last stitch. So I hope that makes sense. Then we avoid that little dummy stitch in there, the little fake trickery stitch, and then we just go into our chain 1 and slip stitch to join the round. So you should still have a stitch count of 12 by the end of round 4, so you should have done 2 rounds of chain 1, 1 single crochet in each stitch round, then slip stitch in your chain 1 to join. So moving on to round 5, we're going to chain 1 again. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So we're going to the next stitch. So do a single crochet and a single crochet in the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, and a single crochet in the next stitch. So you've chained 1, and you've just done 1 single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to do 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So we do 2 in the same stitch. We do 1 and another one in the same stitch. 2. Okay, it's got a little increase. I'm going to do that again in the next stitch. So 2 single crochet in the next stitch. 1 and another one in the same stitch. 2. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4 again. So just 1 by itself, and another one, 2, 3, and 4. So that's 1 single crochet in the next 4. And then what we're going to do is we've got 1 stitch left, and then we need to slip stitch into our chain 1. We're going to do something a bit unusual. We're going to go into our last stitch and grab our yarn, and we're going to kind of do single crochet 2 stitches together, but we're actually going to single crochet the last stitch and the chain 1 together. So we go into the next stitch and grab our yarn, and then we're going to go into that chain 1 and grab our yarn. So you've got 3 loops. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to finish that round. So by the end of that round you should have 13 stitches. Okay, so what we want to do is I'm just going to tuck my tail end on the inside so he's out of the way. Okay, so moving on to round 6, we're going to chain 1. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 6 stitches. So that's the next 6. Just 1 single crochet in the next 6. So 1 and 6. Then we're going to do 3 single crochet in the next stitch. So that's 3 all in the same stitch. So that's 1 and another 1 in the same stitch. And then another 1 in the same stitch. That's 3 single crochet all in the same stitch. Like that. And it should be in between your 2 previous increases on the previous round where you did your 2 single crochet in those stitches in the middle. That should be where your 3 single crochet appear. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 5. So that's 1 and 5, which then leaves us with 1 stitch. And we're going to do that weird thing again where we're going to single crochet that last stitch and I'll chain 1 together. So we're going to go into the last stitch and grab our yarn, and then we're going to find our chain 1, which is there. It's a bit small, a bit stiff, that's why we should always keep them loose. And there we go, into our chain 1 and grab our yarn, bring that through, there we go. So we've got 3 loops, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So by the end of that round you should have a stitch count of 15. Okay, so before we carry on we're just going to stop there and pull our yarn up slightly because we need enough space to sew on our wings, but what we want to do is we want to cut. We have to cut our yarns. We need to use the same yarn to make our wings. So make sure you leave enough yarn to close him up. And it doesn't matter if it's like lots of excess because we can use that to stuff our little chick at the end. So cut your yarn unless you've got another ball of the same coloured yarn, in which case you won't have to cut it. And then let's move that over there. And taking the same yarn, we're going to work on the wings. And we need to make 2 of these. And to make the wings, we are going to work into a magic circle. We're going to work some stitches. Now, like I said, you could chain 4, slip stitch into your chain 1 to form a loop, and work these same stitches I'm about to show you into that loop as well. So I'm just going to do my little dummy stitch. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet into our magic circle, so a single crochet. Then we're going to do a half double crochet in our magic circle, so we yarn over, half double crochet. Then we're going to do 2 double crochet in our magic circle. That's 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet. Then we're going to do a half double crochet again. And then we're going to do a single crochet. Like that. And we're going to pull our tail end closed. Then what we do is we go into our first single crochet, and work a slip stitch. And there we go. Sorry, my voice is quite croaky, by the way. I've been quite ill for the last few weeks, so I do apologise if I sound a bit croaky. So there we go, and then we need to fasten off, pull our yarn up, and then we just need to work those same stitches again for the opposite wing. And like I said, you could chain 4, slip stitch into your first chain to form a loop, and then into that loop you could work the same stitches, which is 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1 half double crochet and a single crochet. Okay, so I'm going to repeat those steps and for the other wing, and I'll come back. Okay, so I've just repeated those steps and made another little wing, and what we're going to do now is sew these onto our little chick that we've done so far. So we're going to get our yarn needle and taking one of our little wings. The first thing I'm going to do is the yarn, the tail end yarn, the beginning bit, I'm just going to trim right down. And then sew the end piece of yarn onto our hook, and so that's where we finished up. And I'm just going to sew that to the back. There we go. So that brings that in nicely. And you want to make sure that the double crochet is facing that direction. And this is going to be the tail end of our little chick. Just making sure the longer stitches are at the back. Putting it at a slight angle. And we're going to go in to the body. Probably about 1, 2, 3 rows down. Up there. And then we can come out the bottom for our sewing. I'm just going to sew just a few stitches, make sure to hide that tail end. Just a few stitches in this area here, just to secure into place. I'll show you quickly for one wing and then I'll do the other one. So come back up, come up about there. Nice and tight, and then I'll come over about here and go back down. Oh, that's gone wrong. It's gone wrong, it's all gone wrong. Let's try that again. Okay, going over and out for the bottom. Like so. And when he's firmly enough in place, we only want to sew just in that corner. We want to keep the rest loose so we can flap his little wings. You can just hide your tail end pieces on the inside for stuffing, and then we're going to repeat the other wing for the other side. So we're just going to sew that on again, making sure to make sure the double crochets are facing that direction now, because that's going to be his tail end there. So we would position this wing in that direction. Okay, so I'm just going to sew that one on and then I shall come back. Okay, so I've sewn on the other wing on the other side. You want to make sure as well when you sew the other one on that it lines up nicely with the other side. And you want to make sure the little seam we're working is in the middle of your two little wings at the front. That this bit that sticks out, that's going to be his tail end. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to do a couple of little eyes. And to do the eyes, we're going to get some of our black DK light worsted weight yarn. We're going to take a couple of short lengths, literally about that long, and a couple of those. And what we do is, this is my little technique of making quick eyes, is we just tie a knot in the middle like that. I'm going to do another one over the top. You want to make sure that they, whoops, don't do that, because you want to make sure that they line up on top of each other. Okay, so you do your one knot, and then your second knot needs to land, there we go, on top of the other knot. I'm just going to repeat that for the other strand. So we do one knot in the middle, and then we do another knot to land on top of the other knot. Okay, then we take our yarn needle And we sew one end of our eye. I'm going to make the eyes, where have I put them on this little guy? Probably about, I think, just above the wing there. There's the seam. I think that little stitch there, I should put one end and then take the other end. Just going over slightly so we're catching a bit of yarn and come out on the inside. Pull that down, and then you'll find the little double knot catches on the outside and makes a really simple little eye like that. And all we do then is turn him inside out and making sure we haven't sewn through our yarn we're still working with, which I have. Here we go. We then just tie them in a double knot on the inside as well, nice and tight. So there's one knot and then there's two. Then we can just trim the excess like so. We'll just repeat that for the other eye, the other side as well. Okay, so I've just repeated that for the other side, for the other little eye, and all that's left to do now is get a little bit of our orange yarn. Again, this is DK light worsted weight yarn. We're going to take a length about that much. So this really is using up our scraps. Thread that onto a yarn needle. We're just going to sew a beak on. I was trying to crochet one, it probably ended up too big, so I'm just going to sew a beak on. All I'm going to do is I'm going to come up about there from the inside, and then I'm going to go over to there, and that's probably about 1/2 centimetre in length. This is going to be the widest part at the top. And come back down. There we go, don't pull too tight. And then we'll come up the other side, just below, very smidgingly over on the inside. And then over to the other side. Again, coming in very slightly because we want to, I'll show you on this one, you want to make it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it comes little dots, we get a triangle shape. Okay, and come up the other side, slightly in again. And then down the other side, again coming in very slightly. There we go. And I'll probably afford to do one more. Just right at the point now, really. And just coming down just the other side. Oh, pull that stiff. And there we go. And I think that will be fine. And then all we need to do is tie our tail ends in a knot on the inside. Nice and tightly. And then we can trim the excess for now. We can use all these tail ends for stuffing. There we go. So there is our almost completed chick. We've done the little beak, sewn on a beak, a couple of eyes, done the wings, and now we're going to close him up. So we bring back our hook, and hopefully you haven't sewn your yarn in at all, you can still work with it. And round 7, what we're going to do is this is round 7, we're not going to chain 1 at the beginning, we're just going to go straight into the next stitch and straight into the next stitch to single crochet 2 stitches together. And we're just going to repeat that around and around back to the beginning, single crocheting 2 stitches together. You don't need to worry too much about stitch count because it's all about closing up the gap. So when you're back to the beginning, what we're actually going to do is just go into that next stitch and then into the first stitch from this previous round, this round, and single crochet those 2 together as well. And then I think we'll sort of stop there, try and open up that hole. So you should have a little hole remaining. Like I said, you don't need to worry about your stitch count now. Got a little hole, and then we're going to get a little bit of stuffing, or actually we can use up some, I won't use the black yarn scraps, but I shall use the yarn scraps that we've been using, and taking some scissors, we shall stuff that in our little chick. Okay, so when you're finished stuffing your little chick, what I'm going to do is just going to pull our yarn, remaining yarn through. And I probably left way too much sewing, so I'm going to trim that down. And all my yarn scraps get used for more projects or stuffing, so no waste. And then we just thread the remaining tail end onto a yarn needle, and we're going to sew the remaining gap closed. And to do that, we're just going to go into the next stitch, then out the next stitch, like that. And we're just going to technically drawstring close our little chick, and then into the next stitch, out the next stitch. Hold tight. Next stitch, out the next stitch, until that hole closes up. Like so. Then what's left to do is to hide our tail end, so I'm just going to do one more little stitch just for luck. And then I'm going to sew into the body and just come out anywhere, doesn't matter where. And then don't pull too tightly because we don't want to distort our chick. And then I'm going to go back in and let's come out over here, doesn't matter where. Again, don't pull too tightly. And then I'm going to go back in and come out down the bottom somewhere, doesn't matter where. And then I'm going to push the little chick down. Hold that tight, take the scissors, trim, and then let the tail end pop in on the inside. And there is our completed chick. So it should match our little chick there. We've got a little orangey one. Okay, so join me in part 2 to learn how to make a little egg for them to sit in.